The 250s coming up from Gatorback Cycle Park in Gainesville, Florida. Our opening round of the motocross season for 1997. The defending champion here at Gatorback Park, Jeremy McGrath. Winless, though, on the Supercross season. Getting better and better, though. More competitive on that Suzuki each week. Defending champion in the 250 class, Jeff Emig, wearing all black, going Oakland Raider on us.
It looks cool, but that could get a little hot out there today. Bradshaw all in white, trying to keep cool.
Because of EPA requirements and Clean Air Acts, the move is to 4 strokes. Yamaha's the pioneer in motocross, the first to unveil their 4-stroke, and their rider Doug Henry leading Supercross points with a 2-stroke.
The switch between the 2-stroke and the 4-stroke, it's quite a bit different. You know, for me, I haven't really ridden 4-strokes all that much, and they're quite a bit different as far as power goes. I just have to get used to it a little bit. I don't think switching back and forth will mess me up, too much, because I've kind of been testing it a little bit during the season, and I've gone testing all week on the 4-stroke and then race on the 2-stroke on the weekend. I seem to do all right, so I don't think this will mess me up.
Actually, Doug Henry has been quoted as saying he really likes that 4-stroke.
I haven't talked to him a lot about it, but everyone's been pretty happy about that bike. But this is the real test in competition.
Okay, we're set for moto number 1. They're underway. Hole shot artist. It's Jeff Emig, once again, the defending champion of the series from 1996. Number 1 has the hole shot and the lead. What a great acceleration by this young man.
Great way to start the new season with a number 1 plate, a hole shot.
Look who's right behind him, Jeremy McGrath, number 2. All this sets the scene for a great first moto on the 1997 season.
We could have a replay of last year. These first 2 guys, Beth, look at Jeremy and Emig just laying it over off that jump.
Jeremy McGrath right behind, and look who's third, Doug Henry on the 4-stroke. AMA is loosening up the rules to introduce the 4-strokes to motocross and supercross. They have to use the same fuel, though. They can't be more than 102 decibels of sound, and they have to be within the weight limit of 216 pounds.
Well, that thing's going to be a little heavier, and it's going to be a lot louder, but it's a whole different sound, so I guess they still can meet those requirements.
Yeah, you can kind of hear that 4-stroke sound behind there as they whiz by us now. Larry Ward is behind Henry in 4th. It's a YZ-like package for Yamaha. It led engineers to put a 400 displacement rather than a 550cc AMA limit for the 4-strokes. They say they're getting from 50 to 60 horsepower out of that particular engine. We'll see if it's competitive today. That's one of the big question marks, one of the big stories going into this moto number 1 on the 1997 season. Emig, our leader, followed by Jeremy McGrath, number 2. That's a little strange, isn't it?
It's
number
weird.
2, Jeremy McGrath, the plate.
It's very weird to see that. And Emig's had the number 1 plate before from the 125s, but first time on the 250s, and so far so good.
Emig with a great string going, actually. Is doing well in Supercross points as well, with 2 wins on the Supercross season, hanging right in there points-wise after winning the World Supercross title. And then, of course, before that, the 250 outdoor crown.
Now, these guys have sat around for a long time since practice. A little stale. The track's changed quite a bit. The temperatures are different. And it'll take a lap or 2 for them to find their rhythm, but right now it looks like the pace is pretty good, and Jeremy's still close after the first lap, so that's a good sign.
You know, David, for the riders, it's usually a refreshing change coming to motocross, especially if they've fallen off the Supercross points chase, but for the crews, it's a massive retooling.
Well, there's a lot of differences for the outdoors, and especially in the Yamaha pits to get that 4-stroke dialed in. There's Swank having some problems. Brian
Swank, who lives in Florida now after starting his career coming out of the state of Michigan.
Yeah, for some of the ride, I mean, look at a guy like Ryan Hughes. He's had a terrible time getting something going in the Supercross, and in talking with him, he goes like, you know what, I don't even care what happens to the Supercross now. I'll try to win some races, but the outdoors where it's at. And right now, looks like he's pretty far back in the pack. And Henry still hanging tough on that 4-stroke. In most cases, guys want a lot of power. I mean, it sounds like more power the better, but you want good power is what you want.
Looks like he gets up the hills just fine as he takes the corner. That unmistakable guttural sound of the 4-stroke, although it's a little different than the KTM sound of the 4-stroke, trying to qualify for the Supercross earlier. Part of the record crowd here at Gatorback here today. Emig, our leader, will be back.
It's our Suzuki flashback. We'll take you back 1 year right here to the opening round. McGrath this time with the #1 plate, starting right next to Emig #2. The start of the first moto was McGrath with the hole shot. Slowly started to pull away as Ryan Hughes battled with his teammate Emig, but McGrath was dominant, pulling away more each lap as Hughes kept the pressure on his teammate Emig. Ryan Hughes in his first season outdoors on a 250 showed he had the strength to handle that bike as Jeremy won the first moto easily. At the start of Moto 2 again was McGrath and Emig lined up next to each other, but this time it was Emig with the hole shot. Once again, if he looked in his rearview mirror, he'd find his teammate Ryan Hughes, who ran second early in the race, but #1, McGrath, with an inside line, found his way around Hughes and into second. Then with 3 laps to go, Jeremy with a faster line moves his way into the lead around Emig. We'll watch Emig. Tries to retaliate and get him back. They bump. Emig goes down, handing McGrath the overall win.
Back to live action now. Moto #1 to the 250s. Our leader is Jeff Emig. This is the battle for third. Henry on the 4-stroke. And Larry Ward, Honda of Troy, really putting the heat on Henry now.
I've never ridden a 4-stroke, but I've been in Larry Ward's position, and right now I can tell you he needs earplugs. That thing's loud.
Pretty good roost, too, I'll bet.
Yeah, it's got a lot of power, and like I said before, everybody wants a lot of power, but if you can't use it, it doesn't do you any good. To get that power dialed in is going to be the real challenge for them.
Ward, bar to bar, has the advantage on the corner. Oh, he took the outside route. Now has the inside advantage. Henry coming right back. A great duel for third.
Well, I wonder what Larry Ward was doing there. He made a nice move to make the pass on the outside, which is a place that a lot of guys never expect it. But then if he would have done that double jump, he would have lost all that time in the corner. So he played his cards right, came out ahead in the end.
Henry showing a wheel once again before dropping back. Doug Henry, a bone-crushing crash in practice. Just more testimony to the successful back operation that he went through about 1.5 years ago. Larry Ward in 3rd place now. He's behind Jeff Emig, our leader. Jeremy McGrath in 2nd place. Can Ward catch up with the lead after battling with Doug Henry?
You know, Henry's probably one of the guys that is the only guy with enough patience and with the fitness to go out there and ride that 4-stroke, try to get it dialed in. He's a great test rider, a good guy to have on that bike, try to develop it, but it's a little bit heavier, and watching him come out of some of the corners and battling with LaRocco and Ward, it doesn't look like the bike's that much faster, but it's definitely going to take a little more energy to ride, and Doug's the man for that job.
LaRocco putting the pressure on that machine, almost entirely handmade. The frame is fabricated out of chrome moly steel tubing with titanium subframe. The valve cover machined from titanium. The airbox made from carbon fiber. Oh man, space age. That 4-stroke #20 ridden by Doug Henry. LaRocco having some problems getting around him.
Well, it took Larry Ward a little while to get around him too, and once he did, LaRocco was close enough to see that, so maybe that'll help him.
LaRocco starting the Supercross season, recovering from surgery for the 2nd year in a row. This year it was a shoulder. Last year, complete reconstruction of the knee after a real bad accident at Spring Creek. We didn't know how bad it was until later. That was coming off the win at Unadilla, so it was really disappointing for Mike LaRocco. As far as last year is concerned, he ran the entire motocross season. A win at Washougal, 3rd in points at the end of the year, 2nd overall at Mount Morris, and here comes #5. He's on his way, taking over 3rd place now here in the first 250 moto. Let's go down to Davey Combs, who's with Pete Steinbreaker, Henry's mechanic.
Doug was starting out up front with those guys, but seems to slip back. What's going on?
Well, I think Doug's definitely getting used to the bike. He really feels it's capable of winning races, but you know, it takes a little bit different technique to ride that. And with racing his 2-stroke versus his 4-stroke, we don't have much time to practice on it. So I think in the near future, when we go to the next national, we'll be a little more prepared.
And of course, that's not for a little over a month. When we go to Hangtown in the Sacramento area, we go back to Supercross before then. Actually, kind of a motocross Supercross matchup the next time in Daytona.
Daytona's always been known as more of an outdoor style track, and it gets a lot rougher than most of the other tracks. They don't get out there and work it like they do the other tracks and to try to get the ruts out of it. And here comes Bradshaw now, putting the pressure on Henry.
Couple of old veterans putting the pressure on Henry. Number 100, Mike Kudrowski behind Bradshaw. Isn't this interesting? Bradshaw, nice inside move. Bar to bar, Henry trying to hold on. Just doesn't seem to have enough. Bradshaw.
Now Bradshaw just squared that corner beautiful, and set it up perfect, set himself up for the next section even as he made the pass. And Damon's also a lot like Carmichael. He's had a lot of experience here riding amateurs, and being from back east, he's ridden the Florida Series, and he's comfortable on this soil here at Gainesville.
Bradshaw moving into 5th. He was 4th overall here last year as we take a look at Larry Ward and Mike LaRocco. LaRocco starting to pull up on number 6.
You can see just behind LaRocco, Bradshaw is just starting to ease into the picture, so starting to tighten up a little bit in the battle for 3rd.
Physically, Larry Ward looks pretty strong this year. He's riding smarter, I know that, because he started the Supercross season once again coming out of the World Supercross with an injury, but has held his own, the top independent or non-factory rider in Supercross.
He's had great finishes all the way up until Atlanta, where he dropped back just a little bit, but still up there in the points and riding a lot smarter. Larry Ward's been out there a long time, and he knows what to do, when to take his chances, and when to cool it. And so far this year, he's been doing the right thing.
LaRocco just can't seem to find the right route around Larry Ward yet. He's picking his spots as they go in front of the majority of the fans here at Gatorback Park.
This section gets so slippery. You can see the rock starting to kick up, choppy, and you got to set yourself up so you can still jump that long plateau. Look at Larry Ward, a little bit offline. You get offline there, you can go for a swim, too.
Ward in 3rd, LaRocco 4th, Bradshaw coming up in 5th. An interesting contrast, the track this year as compared to your flashback, where we saw a lot of ruts. Amick, McGrath, Ward, the top 3. We'll be back with more 250 action from Gatorback Park in a moment. AMA Motocross on ESPN2 is being brought to you by Dunlop. Simply the best for your bike. The defending 250 champion, number 1, Jeff Emig, now starting to approach the lappers. This could be interesting on this track.
Well, it's interesting anywhere, really, because you're riding around with guys that you normally don't ride around with much, so you're not sure what they're going to do, if they're going to take the inside or the outside. I used to catch guys and they're waving with their left hand. I don't know if that means I need to go by on the left or they're going to move over. It's always confusing. And for Emig right now, he's got a pretty good lead, so he shouldn't have to be too concerned about it.
Can Emig become the 5th rider to win Gatorback in both the 125 and 250 class? He's well on his way here in Moto number 1. Larry Ward in 3rd. Here comes LaRocco. Oh, good. Oh, LaRocco almost went down, almost slipped out.
That's one of the most slippery parts of the racetrack right there, and LaRocco was trying to turn a little sharper on that corner because of the line he chose to get up next to Larry there, and did a great job saving it.
And he comes right back on the tail of Larry Ward as they go back down into the pit.
Bradshaw's gotten even closer to these guys too, so there's a great battle here coming down to the end.
Terrific speeds they're getting this year into that finish line jump.
Faster they go up that hill, the better run they get at that double jump, and Ward just drifted a little too wide right there.
Ward looking back over his left shoulder. LaRocco took him on the right side. I think he was looking back maybe at Bradshaw.
Well, I think he's had enough of LaRocco breathing down his neck, and it's late in the race. This is when you start to get a little tired and a little cranky too, when things aren't going just right. You just want this to be over with, and last thing you need is at the very end of the race, you don't want to fight people off to have more of them keep coming, and now Bradshaw's there.
Bradshaw not getting the final results in the Supercross season he would like, but he has won 3 semifinal races in a row on the Supercross circuit. His best finish the 7th in Atlanta. But he's run a nice steady race here in the opening motocross round.
He's looking good so far, but there's nothing worse than having the 3rd turn into a 5th or a 6th at the very end. You just could hate it between motos.
It can happen so quickly too, David, because one little mistake and boom, 3 riders are going to pass you.
Well, especially the way the track's designed. The track is great, the layout is nice, and it looks like it's a lot of fun, but it's pretty smooth compared to last year, and that allows a lot of riders, different calibers, to go pretty much the same speed.
It's been a while since we took a look at this guy, number 2, Jeremy McGrath, who's running a lonely 2nd place.
I think at this point he's just lost about a half a second or so a lap to Emig, and Emig was strong here last year, pushed Jeremy to the very end, and Jeremy's probably just thinking right now what he can do to make that second moto a little better.
Larry Ward and Bradshaw starting to battle it out now. Ward trying to hold off Bradshaw for fourth.
Now they're getting into lapped riders now, and that could definitely play a major factor. Like you said before, it could be interesting. It is when you got a tight battle like this. One bad decision from Larry Ward, and Bradshaw can get around.
I love the style of Bradshaw, the way he sits on the bike.
I've always liked it. I watched him ever since he was a mini bike rider. I know I've said that 100 times, but I just like watching him ride. He puts a lot of soul into it, and looks like he's got a better line there on the outside.
Damon Bradshaw going for the points right now. Moves into fourth place on Larry Ward.
One thing I've noticed about Bradshaw, especially early in the season in the Supercross, is that if the situation gets a little sticky and he's not comfortable with it, he backs off now. Or in his early days, boy, he just hold it wide open and pay the consequences. And now he's a little older, more mature, and he knows when to back off and try to stay healthy and in one piece.
You mentioned earlier, David, about how, you know, late in the race you hate to see just being inundated with competition. Well, that's the way Larry Ward must be feeling right now, because number 100 is Mike Kudrowski. Right behind him is John Dowd, number 14, who got a late start, but we know how strong he can get at the end of the race. Kudrowski, a second here in 1995. He was retired, of course, in 1996.
Well, I think it's no secret that Kudrowski's work ethic is among the best. He's in great shape, and I know he would shine towards the end of the race, and that's a fact with John Dowd. So Larry Ward's got trouble.
Kudrowski, of course, says, hey, my goal is to be in the best shape possible before I get to Daytona. Well, that's the next Supercross race.
His results, too, have really improved. I mean, at the first round at LA, he didn't make the main event. I thought, oh, no, this isn't looking good for him. But he's really picked it up and improved and persevered, and now he's back up there battling with guys that he used to battle with and getting faster every week.
In the last 3 Supercross races, Mike Kudrowski, number 100, had a 6th, a 6th, and a 5th, and looked very impressive. He's got a battle of his own right now with John Dowd, number 14. Dowdy moves in front of Kudrowski.
Dowd set that up coming down the drop away. He just went a little bit further to the outside, was able to angle his way across the inside and take the line away from Mike. And looks to me like Dowd is the rider on the move right now. He's the one that's come from the furthest back, and Larry Ward still's got a lot of company.
Last year, of course, Dowdy running in the 125s. In fact, this race was his very first 125 national ever. And he was doing a pretty good job up near the front when he hit a down rider, ended up 34th in his first 125 effort. But he looks a lot more comfortable on the 250s.
Well, I was pretty impressed with the way that he was able to handle himself on that 125, and he looks a lot more at home on this bike.
Emig, McGrath, and LaRocco are top 3. Will they hold on for victory? We'll find out in a minute.
Title back, and Jeff, of course, has been a part of that Motocross of Nations team now, maybe more than anyone.
Of course, he replaced this year his teammate, number 9, Ryan Hughes, on that team. Ryan could not participate because of an injury. Part of that record crowd here at Gatorback Park. Taking a look at number 18, Jimmy Button. Button has had an interesting year. He left, of course, the American circuit to go to Europe, came back, had trouble really getting into the flow of things, but he's been a tough competitor all season long in Supercross.
Now these guys got a great battle. Looked like Hughes had made the pass. Button got him right back. Albertine is right there. He's coming down to the wire, and you can pick up a couple of spots right here if you're Albertine. If you do, looks like he's working his way to the inside of Hughes. A little bit better line right there. Takes it away. Now Button probably won't even realize that it's Albertine back there now and not Hughes.
Albertine, number 8, a breakthrough moto here in 95. He took a second place, just getting edged by LaRocco toward the end of the race. Here's John Dowd now, starting to really look strong. He's coming up on Bradshaw. This could be a very interesting battle.
It's a great feeling when you it's a lot better feeling when you get the whole shot and you're out front like Emig. But if you get a mediocre start or mid-pack, and I've done this here before at Gainesville, and you keep working your way up as far up in the field as Dowd has, it's just a good feeling. You're just picking guys off one by one. You keep catching everyone. You're moving forward, and then The flip side of that is your Bradshaw or Larry Ward, and these guys keep catching you. It's awful. You only have a few more laps to go, and you're trying to do everything you can to hold them off, and Bradshaw's got his work cut out now.
Imagine that in the 90s we had 4 straight years where the winner of this race went on to win the title. Jeremy McGrath in 95, LaRocco 94, Kodrowski and Stanton in 92. You also did that feat back in 1983.
Clear back then. Geez, it's hard to even remember back that far.
That was the first year they ran a Gatorback.
I went 5-2. I remember that was, I came in here with a couple of bones broken in my foot, and I went 5th in the first moto. The second moto at the very end, ended up 2nd, won the overall. It was pretty weird.
Right now, Jeff Emig is on top, and we'll be back in a moment. The race for the checkers is on here in moto number 1. White flag lap. One more lap for Jeff Emig to hold on to the lead. He's got a big lead on Jeremy McGrath. No one really testing McGrath for 2nd place. In case you just joined us, we're in moto number 1 of the 250s.
Emig reaching out for that clutch. He's one of the guys, I've pointed this out before in Supercross, he's one of the guys that doesn't ride with his hand on the clutch very much. Right there, he doesn't have his fingers on it. Most of the riders will keep one out there all the time. Even through the pits, they're riding around with their finger on the clutch, and Jeff only goes out there and uses it when he needs it. Starting to get a little stylish for the people.
As we mentioned earlier, the great thing about motocross, the fans are real close to you. And as a rider, David, you can feel them out there cheering for you.
You definitely can. And there's a lot more people in this back section here than there used to be. That used to be pretty desolate back there. It was kind of exciting to get back to the front where the people were again. But great crowd here, and Jeff's giving them what they wanted.
I think this is a good warning for those of you going to motocross events this year. Go early. I mean, we said this last year, and a lot of people got caught in traffic for hours and barely made it to the race in time in some of these venues.
Jeff really looking comfortable out there. As he went over that little plateau in the corner there, he just laid it over almost flat. And this elevator jump's not that easy to do, and he's waving to people. That's got to be a great feeling for him to start the season off the way he ended it.
He's so laid back and mature about things right now. It was kind of interesting not long ago talking about his career and saying, hey, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it now. I've only got a couple more years in this game. That's amazing when you take a young man like Jeff Emig. He's only 26 years old. Plus, he's probably feeling like 15 right now because having such a great lead and no pressure, oh, that's been a relaxing ride for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been able to conserve some energy towards the end of this race, and you can say, well, Jeremy hasn't been pushing as hard as he can back there in 2nd, but still, when you win the moto, it just does so much more for your confidence going into the 2nd one, and knowing that you haven't used that much energy and still had this big of a lead gives you even more confidence.
And of course, from Jeremy's point of view, a win in the 2nd moto would mean the overall victory. The checkers for Jeff Emig, and a great ride for this young man. Jeremy McGrath coming across in 2nd place, conserving some energy.
Not that far behind, though, and like you said, Art, he can go out there, win the 2nd moto, win the overall, but he'd still be tied in points if Jeff finished 2nd.
And there's our top 5. Look at that. Albertine got in front of Button for 8th. Let's go to Davey.
A lot of people are talking about the 4-stroke. They're talking about McGrath switch to the bike, all that different stuff. You still got first, just like it ended last year.
Yeah, well, it was a great start. The Kawasaki got me out front, and you know, Bridgestone, they're really helping out with the tires, and I'd just like to thank all my sponsors for wanting to be with me in my #1 plate, and you know, hopefully I'll ride well enough to defend it. And I would like to thank Shift Racing, Arnett Goggles, Shoei Helmets, Alpine Star Boots, and Troy Lee Designs, and Surfcam.
I'm sorry, we were talking to Jay on your mechanic. Your lap times, you're just clicking them off just about perfect every time. Good, solid pace for the first outdoor race.
Yeah, well, I could see where there was at. I slowed down a little bit there in the middle, and then I really wanted to put in some good hard laps there at the end, and I mean, it worked great. The Kawasaki was, I mean, it's working awesome. It hasn't missed a beat since last year.
Can Emig become only the 5th rider to win Gatorback in both the 125 and 250 classes? Can McGrath become the 1st rider to win Gatorback 3 years in a row? Davey.
That's your best ride of the season so far, at least it had to seem like that.
Yeah, it was all right. I felt pretty strong out there. You know, I mean, I made a few mistakes, had a few bad lines, but now I know the track pretty good. I was keeping Jeff honest for a little while there, and you know, I'm ready for the 2nd moto.
Yeah, well, in your outdoor career, you've always been known as a 2nd moto guy, too.
Yeah, I'm not tired at all. I mean, it's pretty hot out today, and I'm not tired. I just need to make a few changes to my bike and come out strong 2nd moto.
Just as we assumed, McGrath wants to win that second moto. We'll be back with more in a moment. Collect, the way we call collect today. The riders, after a very brief rest, really getting set and looking relaxed anyway, getting ready for the second moto of the day. 30 minutes of continuous action. Mike Kudrowski looks like he's taking a little nap there, but he's really kind of visualizing things. Getting set, the gate drops. Moto 2 is underway. Jeff Emig, another great start. Emig with Hendry right on his rear tire.
Henry's got a lot of horsepower in the top. That sand, that wide open section.
Whoa, look at Bradshaw, number 10, moving into second place. After a very good first moto, Damon Bradshaw is looking strong.
Also, Ezra Lusk up in there. Great start. Couldn't tell which was Henry and which was Lusk, but Lusk actually got to the corner before Henry did.
Lusk, yes, in third and Henry in fourth. Lusk started the Supercross season looking very impressive. Got that $1,000 hole shot award, number 11, in the second race at Los Angeles. Second on the podium next to Henry.
You can see as they start up that hill, Jeremy McGrath probably about 9th or 10th. You hear the crowd going nuts. Well, they went nuts the first moto too, but I got to think there's a lot of Bradshaw fans here.
And he's really putting a lot more pressure on Emig than McGrath did in the first moto. McGrath with a slow start here in moto number 2.
Oh, I know that Bradshaw's so happy with that Manchester Honda ride. They don't put any pressure on him, and he'd love more than anything, even if he couldn't hold the lead the whole moto. I don't know what's going through his head, but I know he'd like to lead this thing for a little while at least.
Well, Bradshaw coming out of the amateur ranks with so much expectation and then so much success in the 125s, and the pressure just continued to build on the young man.
And he just smoked around the outside of that corner too. He's keeping the pressure on Jeff. Even if his line and from point A, B to C doesn't work out the fastest, he wants to show Jeff the wheel. Let him know he's there. Force Jeff to think a little bit before he goes inside or outside about what Damon might have planned. It's a good strategy when you're following somebody like that, especially early in the race. You sat around at the truck. Track's changed a little bit since the 125s were out there. It's a great time to attack, and Bradshaw's attacking right now.
They did a pretty good job in working on the track as much as they could between motos, that's for sure. Once again, we see a lack of ruts from years past.
This corner right here is all smooth. You can see the fresh dozer tracks. That's where the start comes in. They want to keep that smooth, and the speeds these guys are traveling on the start, that was one of the faster starts on the season. They don't want to have a bunch of bumps in there to make somebody go down in the middle of that pack.
David, we've talked about the elevation changes, the many corners that you have to take on this track, and that's just got to keep a rider very busy.
Well, even for just the local rider, it's very busy, but the pace these guys are going, and look at the way they come out of that corner. They got to feed the clutch just right, be in the right gear, in the right line to be able to jump up 3 of those little staircases.
Larry Ward down.
That's a bad time to go down early in the moto like that. Everyone's still bunched up. 4 or 5 guys go by. It takes a while to get around them. And for Doug Henry, on that 4-stroke, it's a completely new thing. I mean, he's never, all the testing that I've heard about and all the rumors are that bike works great. He's able to jump up the elevator there, still make the corner nice. But it's different. It's a whole new story, and the 2-strokes accelerate a little bit different. The power is different. The bike slows down different. The engine, there's so much inertia. Anyone that's ever ridden a 500 knows that you don't have to go very fast and hold it wide open to find out that bike's a big mistake there from Albertine, and all that loose stuff out there. A lot of guys are making those kinds of mistakes today, especially early in the race when you're just not warmed up right.
This is the battle for third. Doug Henry, number 20, and Greg Albertine, number 8. Albertine now on the move to catch back up to Doug Henry. McGrath has now moved up to 5th. Welcome back to Gatorback Park. Moto number 2 of the 250s. Our leader is Jeff Emig, but the battle for third is on with Henry, Albertine, and here comes Jeremy.
Jeremy's really picked off a lot of riders early, working his way to the front quick. He's got his teammate to get around first. And that odd-sounding bike of Henry's.
I have a feeling we're going to have to get used to that. Oh, Albertine having a rough time of it. Here comes Jeremy McGrath. Looks back at his teammate as he passes him into 4th.
Well, Albertine had a kind of an odd line. Looked like he went in and meant to take the inside, messed up the berm and went wide, and then that line shot him back to the inside and came together. So Jeremy was looking at him like, where are you going?
Watch it, Jeremy ride here. He looks like the Jeremy of old. He's really pouring it on.
Yeah, he looks really aggressive, and you watch him with whoever he's around, he looks pretty smooth. His lines make sense. Doesn't look like he's using very much energy, and he's missing a lot of the holes the other guys are hitting.
This would be an excellent opportunity for Greg Albertine just to follow McGrath and learn some of those lines, that's for sure. Jeremy McGrath is used to winning, but he's handled the situation of still looking for his first win of 97 very well. Jeremy McGrath with number 2 on his plate.
It's been a while since I've had a number 2 on my bike, and I don't know. I'm excited. I don't feel that I'm like the underdog or anything. I won a lot of races last year, and you know, I kind of lost the championship on my own. So, I mean, I just got to ride really good this year and take it back.
Last season, he was 1-1 here at Gatorback Park, a runaway.
It was a pretty close second moto, though. It took him a long time to get around Emig. When he finally did, Emig, in fact, it was right here coming out of this corner where he made the pass, and then right before they dropped back into the pit, Emig tried to get him back and went down.
Yeah, he started in 4th in that particular moto and then finally ended up winning it. Inside cut, Jeremy McGrath against his former teammate Doug Henry. Back and forth, side to side.
Look at Jeremy work inside, outside, over and over. Did such a good job. I mean, it would have been so easy for Jeremy to drift a little bit wide and not mean to, but fall right into Henry's line on that jump. So you're in the air so long, you come together, and Jeremy did a great job. He's polite, in fact, to hold it that tight and stay out of his way.
When these two race each other, it just takes me back to that very sad moment at Budds Creek. You know, because the two were battling for second place behind Larocco at that time, and they were battling each other for the points lead that year.
Yeah, well, you can pretty much imagine what was going through Doug's mind. I mean, he told me it just felt like a bad dream, but it was really happening. And then for Jeremy, he was right next to him or behind him and saw the whole thing. So that had to be a pretty wild experience for him, too.
Albertine now putting the challenge to Doug Henry. Henry, after dropping back to an 11th place in the first moto, is trying to hang on for a good position here.
Oh, this is a really good testing grounds for that bike, and especially to be in and amongst these two riders. Albertine definitely one of the faster riders on the track, and Jeremy, with the results he's had and the way he rode the first moto, it's a good gauge for him to find out how that bike works.
The information we got before the season started was that Doug Henry, according to his contract, had no choice as to which bike to ride for the National Outdoor season. He had to ride the 4-stroke according to his contract. That is if Yamaha wants him to. The choice is his with the Supercross, and that'll be an interesting choice indeed, because he's leading points by 8 points in the Supercross race, getting there on the 2-stroke.
Well, the Supercross, I can't imagine him riding a 4-stroke. Even if this bike is great, if it's still unproven, and if they're not prepared, you heard Steinbrecher say they're not as prepared as they'd like to be, why mess it up? He's already leading that series.
Here comes Albertine, looking back at Doug Henry. So Albertine doing a nice job moving up the ranks now.
He's doing like what you said there. He's following Jeremy, trying to stay as close as he can. Jeremy's obviously on the move, and he's got plans for the front. If Albertine can stay close, that'll be a good finish for him. He's already up to 4th. That's an improvement over the first moto. And even though Doug's getting past, you know, he's still in the thick of it. He can still see these guys and dice with them a little bit. And I'm sure he's going to learn a lot before Hangtown.
After a second place the very first time he rode a moto here. Oh, Phil Lawrence shaking his right hand now. He has an injured left thumb, a tendon pull. And it looks like he might have got a dinger on that right side now as he tries to get back into the action. I was mentioning, though, Greg Albertine, after a second-place finish in his very first moto here at Gatorback Park, then has had nothing but bad luck. A mechanical in the second moto took him out of the running for the overall that year, and then he came back last year and crashed in both motos. Albertine hanging with his teammate Jeremy McGrath. McGrath in 3rd. Can the two move up on Jeff Emig? Art Ekman, David Bailey, and Davey Coombs from Gatorback Park. We've got a real battle on our hands for second place now. Jeremy McGrath, as we see Wyatt Seals, his mechanic, looking on, putting the crunch on Damon Bradshaw for second place. Jeremy McGrath has just taken over second place. Can he catch Jeff Emig? I think he's got time, especially at the rate of speed he's traveling on this track.
That's that same place he made the move on Henry. That's such a technical, tough section to try to hold the inside going up that hill, because as he crests the top, the bike wants to get light. You don't get any traction. It's a lot rougher on the inside, and he's still able to make those passes.
Back in 1995, he got his very first national overall win here at Gatorback Park. And the battle behind them. It's LaRocco passing Button. Number 5, Mike LaRocco.
LaRocco once again on the move, charging late in the race. Should be nice to see this guy get some hole shots. He's done it before. He's had great results here before on the Kawasaki, getting great starts, but once again today having to come from behind.
Not only winning here at Gatorback, but also he had that big win last year at Washougal. Oh, look at here. More bad luck for Ryan Hughes. He's had one podium on the Supercross season, but otherwise it's been just a horrible myriad of things happening to him. Bad luck, mechanicals, injuries, illness, 13 in the Supercross points, and is not off to a very good start here in the opening round of the motocross season. Here is our leader, Jeff Emig, riding smooth, but Jeremy McGrath, let me tell you, behind him is on the move.
There you see Jeremy just coming into the picture, not that far behind. Look at the distance he's already been able to put on Bradshaw, who's got a great pace, but nothing like Jeremy's. Jeremy wants this overall win.
Great shot by a gutsy cameraman there on that hillside, let me tell you, as it looks like it might be the day for Ryan Hughes.
Here comes LaRocco again.
He's testing Doug Henry. Things starting to rut up pretty good here for the second moto ride now. Henry in 5th place.
It's one of the rougher, more one-line sections right there coming to that right-hander. It's one of the places you don't want to catch a left rider. There's something smoking on, I don't know what that is. It could be something of the radiator maybe, something leaking out of it. As soon as that fluid touches the pipe, it starts to smoke.
Could it be that rear shock?
That's possible too.
Hitting the pipe.
Yeah, he busts one of those lines and all that comes out of there and starts to smoke too. It's hard to tell, but it looks like that's going to cause a lot of problems for Mike.
Albertine, number 8, trying to pick up things on Damon Bradshaw. This is the battle for 3rd.
Well, Albertine, when he's behind you, he puts so much pressure on you. He had his front wheel in the way. Bradshaw couldn't even put his foot out for the turn. He was there. That's the way to make a guy nervous and make your move. There's his mechanic. He'd like to see him move up another spot.
Ian Harrison looking on. Albertine trying everything known on this course to get by Bradshaw.
Bradshaw doing a little block right there. Took his time through that section. Now you can see Damon looking over. He's making sure to cover that line. Albertine's been using that inside off that ski jump there the whole time, making a little bit of ground, and worked for him there.
What a move by Albertine now. Nice clean pass on Bradshaw. Bradshaw protected it only so long, and then Albertine was able to take advantage of him.
Well, that's second. Really drifted quick. At the end of this moto, the guys that are really fit, the guys that get comfortable and have good, the lines change all through the race. And the guys that can make,
look at this.
Yep, the guys that make those adjustments are able to go fast all the way to the end. And right now, Bradshaw's got some guys catching him, and Emig's got the same problem. He's got Jeremy closing fast.
We've got a race for the lead now. Jeff Emig cannot afford a mistake if he wants to win here at Gatorback Park. Jeremy McGrath, who took a second in the first moto, if he should pass Emig, would win the overall here.
So it's the same as last year. Jeremy still's got to make the pass for the overall win.
Albertine, number 8. Oh, and Albertine kisses the dirt.
Well, that's a slippery, tough section right there. I talked about that earlier when LaRocco was trying to make a pass. Front end got away from him, and then he got into some of those ruts, and down he went.
Boy, that looks like a rugged place to fall, too. Lacerations.
Well, that's a handlebar in the stomach, and it's like falling on pavement right there, too. It's so hard packed.
The fans are going crazy here at Gatorback Park now as Jeff Emig is getting the big challenge from Jeremy McGrath. McGrath yet to win in 1997. Davey Coombs, quick-footed, He's over near Greg Albertine to see what that situation is.
All right, Dave, I'm down there with Greg Albertine. He pulled off with about 3 laps to go. Greg, what happened?
Oh man, I was just past Bradshaw, came into a turn, really fast section. Front wheel just washed out, just spat me over the bars. Hurt my shoulder pretty bad.
Yeah. How bad do you think it is?
I don't think it's too bad. It's just killing me right now. It's a real sharp pain and just not happy.
Albertine, of course, having shoulder problems in the past, breaking the collarbones in Supercross. As we get back to the action now, lots of heat going through some lappers. Number 1, Jeff Emig. You can see the way he's riding. He's picked up things.
Yeah, he looks very aggressive right now, and it was critical that he made the pass on those guys before that elevator so he could still jump it and maintain that lead.
Emig getting pressure from McGrath. Can he hold on? Motocross on ESPN2 has been brought to you by Honda, the Red Riders, winners of the last 9 straight 250 Supercross championships. Jeff Emig is our leader here at Gatorback Park. If he holds on with Jeremy McGrath right behind him, he would win the overall. If Jeremy McGrath should pass him, it's Jeremy McGrath's overall victory. Jeremy looking brilliant right now. Emig, though, has not cracked.
Emig has been tough, and
oh no, Jeremy slipped out on that slick area.
oh, his back tire went just over the berm, and as he gassed it, watch his back tires. Not in the rut just yet. He got on the gas a little early. That's what happens when you're pushing yourself. That's why Jeremy was making up so much time. He was taking those little bitty chances and getting away with it.
A big sigh of relief for this guy, Jeff Emig, number 1. Jeremy McGrath and Emig were far enough away, though, from the 3rd place bike that Jeremy is back up and running in 2nd place.
Now think about what could have happened there, though. If Jeremy had made the pass, they'd be tied in points. Jeremy would be the overall winner, and he'd have some of that momentum back that I think he's lost. He doesn't have the respect from the other riders like he had last year, where they were afraid to even get around him. In fact, if they were behind him, they just thought, well, this is good, I'll stay here. But this year, it's a whole different story.
So much of motocross and supercross is psychological, not just the machines, not just the riding ability.
Well, now Emig's got everything dialed in, and with 2 moto wins, he's going to pick up 6 points and the overall.
Jeff Emig, the checkered flag, and the overall victory. A disappointed Jeremy McGrath. What do I have to do? Close in points, though, with Jeff Emig after the first round of motocross. Dowd making 4th. Jimmy Button, the top 5, as we take a look at 6 through 10. Ezra Lust in 10th spot.
All right, man, way to start the season, 1-1.
Yeah, it was great. Kawasaki and Bridgestone got me right out front off the start, and that's definitely where I wanted to be today. You know, it was a little bit dusty, a lot of holes. It was really tough. You know, really tough on your hands and your upper body. This first race is at Gainesville because it's just so hard, and there's just gnarly holes everywhere.
You beat McGrath straight up in both modes. Does that add anything to the win, or are you just out there 39 other guys?
Well, I'm sure it adds something. You know, I'm not really trying to focus on one guy. I'm just focusing on what I have to do, and you know, what I think about all week happened. It happened today. I got off the gate just perfect both times. I was just all by myself, and that's the way I like it. Easiest way to win.
Emig has now won a 125 and a 250 class here at Gatorback Park. There's only one rider to win the 500 and 250 class at Gatorback, and that was my partner, David Bailey. Let's go to our partner, Davey Coombs.
All right, Jeremy, for Lau there, we thought you were going to get him. 2 laps to go, you're right on his back. What happened?
Yeah, I got kind of screwed up in the first corner. I had a good start, and I just got kind of weeded in the start. And I don't know how to work my way up from back. And it felt really good. My Suzuki was really working good today after the second moto, and you know, I was able to push and catch him like that. I just got a little bit excited, and I kind of had my plan ready to pass him kind of where I thought I could get him on the last lap, and just got excited and slipped out.
I know the bike and the team and everything's still a work in progress. Are you satisfied with your progress here in Gainesville?
Yeah, 800 Collect, Suzuki at Troy, and Fox Racing. You know, we got a good team, and I'm finally getting a handle on it, and I'd like to thank all them for being patient with me. And you know, I keep saying it every week. It's coming.
So another chapter of history from Gatorback National as we see the point standings. Jeff Emig, Jeremy McGrath, John Dowd, 3rd in points, tied with Damon Bradshaw. Next week, It's Daytona Supercross time. Art Ekman, David Bailey, Davey Coombs. So long for now.